Hi, I want to start this video off by addressing something. First of all, I was quite immature in my last video, like the original version of this video. I understand that and I'm sorry. I should have done better and thank you for holding me accountable. Secondly, I didn't mean to bring anyone else into this. I didn't do that on purpose. I assumed that it was okay to leave Zane's Discord username unblurred or not blocked out, and that was 100% my fault. I should have blocked it out or asked beforehand. That was my bad and I'm very sorry for that. I also made a couple assumptions which weren't okay for me to make. I'm going to further research everything from now on. Now, I'd like to get into this video. I'm going to try and be mature and respectful in this, so please do call me out if I'm not. I'm sorry that my previous video didn't reflect that. Once again, I would not like for any hate to be sent to anyone mentioned in this video. First, I'm going to talk about Accalia's life. Accalia has changed quite a bit. I know that and I acknowledge that in the original version of this video. She made a huge effort in bettering herself and I think that that's great. I sincerely am glad that Accalia put in the effort to change herself. It's clearly paid off. I now know that Accalia has watched these, or at least people directly connected to her have, so I want to make it very clear that they know. I think it's great that Accalia has worked on herself. In Accalia's live, she was talking about how I made it a competition between our traumas and how I left her disorders out. Firstly, I don't know her personally. I don't know what disorders she has. If I left them out, then it's not on purpose. I'm a stranger on the internet, and me knowing every little detail of her disorders and everything would be incredibly parasocial. I think that I don't need to know everything about her to be able to criticize behaviors that deserve a valid critique. Disorders are a reason for her behaviors, not an excuse. You can have certain disorders and still take accountability for your actions. Once again, I'm glad that she's put in the effort to better herself. I just think that there's still some ways to go, and that's perfectly okay. She's working on it, and I'm glad. Secondly, I didn't make it a competition between our traumas. I didn't bring her trauma up, and I didn't bring mine up. I simply said that I know she has trauma, and everyone does, but it's not an excuse for her behavior. She does have trauma, yes, she 100% does, and I'm so sorry that she's been through a lot. Nobody deserves to go through what she's been through. And even though she has been through a lot, I believe that the way she was talking about me was disrespectful. She was saying a lot of things, including how I haven't been through what she has. That's true. I haven't. But Accalia does not know me. She shouldn't be making these assumptions, especially because I am a stranger on the internet, and I could be literally anyone. I obviously won't be saying what I've been through because I think that would be immature of me to start talking about my own trauma in this video, but I think that it wasn't a good move for her to say that. I didn't know her trauma or what she's been through because honestly speaking, once again, she's just someone on the internet. That's the truth. It's hypocritical for her to say that I was comparing our traumas and then go along and do exactly what she accused me of doing. I just wanted to bring up another thing because I was thinking about it. Again, I think that a lot of things she said were immature, but this one thing also rubbed me the wrong way. She repeatedly called me a narcissist and a bully. Accalia does not know who I am. I think it's incredibly disrespectful to be saying that. I'm not big on name calling, and I didn't call Accalia any names in either of my videos. This is really disrespectful and hypocritical. I think that she had some good points, yes, but I also believe that she could have been more respectful about it. Honestly, I didn't sit through her whole live because I was asleep when she first started it, and I left a couple minutes early because I had to go to work. I was listening for about an hour and 15 minutes or so. I did bring in Zane, her friend and the owner of her Discord server, and she said that that was why she made the live. I understand that. But from what I saw, she spent the majority of the live talking about how I left her traumas and disorders out and name calling me. I couldn't go back and watch the video to make sure, so I'm purely going off of memory here. Since I took my previous video down, I also want to give a rundown on what happened with her Discord server. I also want to correct myself on a couple details. So when I talked to Zane, he kept saying the Discord server was in control now. I got 2 of my friends to join the server and see if that was actually what was the truth. We found out that it wasn't being completely managed. First of all, we found some NSFW memes and some nicknames that weren't exactly SFW. Along with that, Accalia was misusing the everyone ping. I wanted to talk about this. I think that I made the everyone ping thing a bit too big of a deal. It is technically her fan base and everyone in the server is there for her. Now, I still stand by most of my story. However, I realized later that Zane was actually the owner of the server and not just a mod. Another thing I'd like to mention is that he did update verification and add more security to prevent NSFW memes or content, and that he personally would ensure that all users' names were within the server guidelines. That's really the thing I aim to get out of my video. My goal with that video was to make sure that her server was a safe space for the children she marketed her content to be towards to be in. While my video was immature, I am grateful that the valid critiques I made in that video were taken into consideration. I do think that I could have reached out in private about this situation. I acknowledge that I made the video because I made an assumption. I made the assumption that I was lied to, not that it was a mistake. I'm glad that the proper measures are being taken now. I also want to make it clear that my quote-unquote spying did not have malicious intent. My friends joined the server because we wanted to see that Accalia has changed. We hoped to see that she was doing well and that she's moved on from these past behaviors. Accalia, we're not praying for your downfall. We're not hoping for that. We just want to see that your past behaviors are being handled and addressed in a mature way. I understand that I didn't do that in my last video, but I think that you need to take accountability for your actions too. I also understand that it's getting frustrating because you're getting videos talking about your past actions when you've clearly worked on yourself to try and better yourself. I just believe that there were more areas that you can work on. Once again, looking back, I do believe that my previous video was immature, and that was fucked up of me. But I want to do better, and you can't call me immature and then do a full 180 and be immature yourself. Accalia, you're the adult in this situation. Now, I'm going to be moving on to addressing my previous criticisms and what's changed. Some of these will be copy and pasted from the privated video, while others will have further updates. Zane pointed out that her content style has changed a little. While she still does mostly only make videos on gay men, she stopped doing suggestive content, which is great. I'm glad that her content isn't really fetishizing gay men anymore. I acknowledge that she's putting in the effort to broaden her content. He also mentioned that she's been making small steps in broadening her content from just gay men to moving to make videos of other types of queer people. I think that's great, and I'm glad she's doing so. Another issue I had previously was with the age ratings of her videos. The suggestive videos were rated at 13+, which, as I mentioned in my previous video, weren't exactly appropriate. These videos had a lot of NSFW themes. I mentioned these to Zane, and he said that he'd bring this up to her and suggest she changes it. What I learned later was that she had it as 13+ in the title because YouTube does not have a 16+ setting. I wanted to make it clear that I'm not talking about the YouTube ratings, I'm talking about the rating in the titles. She's directly marketing them towards young teenagers by putting 13+ in the titles. I'm not telling her to change the setting in YouTube, simply to change the title that says 13+. I'm also very grateful that she doesn't handle criticism and attack criticism the way she did before. It was made very clear in her live. She was really good with that, and while I believe that her live was immature, she kept telling her fans not to hate on anyone. She brought it up multiple times, and I think that was great. However, I still think that the way she handles criticism is immature. As I mentioned in the portion talking about her live, she repeatedly called me a narcissist and a bully. I know that some people may not know the definition of a narcissist, and if you don't, I'll put it the definition on the screen. Again, this is immature. She spent her whole life calling me an immature child while refusing to see that this is incredibly hypocritical as she's calling me names. Accalia, I previously made 2 videos of you that added up to less than 15 minutes long. I don't think that that's enough time to judge whether I'm a narcissist or not. And on top of that, narcissism is a complex mental disorder. It's not okay to just throw that around. Thank you for watching. Once again, I don't want anyone to send Accalia or anyone else hate involved in this situation. I'd like to keep any comments anyone has to my comment section. Thank you once again for watching and supporting me. If you agree with my points, feel free to like and subscribe or join my Discord server in the description below. It's a silly thing I put together with my friends. If you didn't like this video, then you can go into the comment section and tell me why. I don't mind. I'll gladly have a respectful discussion with anyone about their opinions.